Welcome to Variant One Shot. Earlier this week I asked you all on Twitter and Facebook what origin of a comic book object or weapon you would like to see for today's episode. There was a ton of great suggestions, but the utility belt seemed to be the one that most of you were saying, hence today's episode. Diving right in, the concept of Batman's utility belt was created by Gardner Fox and was first introduced in July of 1939 in Detective Comics issue 29, which was only 2 issues after his first appearance in Detective Comics issue 27. Man, I wish I owned the original Detective Comics 27. But being honest with myself, that's probably never gonna happen, as it goes for 6 to 7 figures depending on the condition. Imagine spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or even $1 million on a comic. That's crazy town. Anyway, in the utility belt's first mention in Detective Comics issue 29, we see Bruce getting ready to suit up. He picks up his belt and says, "These glass pellets of choking gas might come in handy tonight, if this is what I think it is." And just like that, the concept of Batman's utility belt was born. Kind of off topic, but still worth briefly mentioning, is the fact that 2 issues later in Detective Comics issue 31, Fox also created the first bat-themed weapon, the Batarang, which, as I just said, debuted in Detective Comics issue 31 in the Batman vs. Vampire storyline. But if you want to know more about the Batarang, check out my Origin of the Batarang episode. Getting back to the topic on hand, all the way up until 1989, which is when we got the first Tim Burton Batman movie, almost all artists drew the utility belt the same way. They drew it as a yellow belt with a buckle and cylinder capsules around it. Now, you know how I said almost all artists drew it the same way? Well, that's because there were several exceptions, like in the 1986 Dark Knight Returns comic, where writer-artist Frank Miller drew the utility belt with military-style pouches that went all the way around the belt, and with seemingly no belt buckle. Then, in 1987, in Batman Year One, artist David Mazzucchelli continued the pouch theme with his own twist and style. Several artists for several different stories would go on to use the military pouch theme after this, and by the early 2000s, the pouches became the modern standard for how Batman's utility belt was portrayed in comics and basically all forms of media, including the most recent depiction of Batman on the big screen in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice and the upcoming Justice League film. But with all that said, the Adam West Batman from the '66 Batman TV series did have the pouches on his belt and not the capsules, so maybe that's what really started it all, but who knows. What we do know for fact is that Batman's utility belt is one of his most important tools for fighting crime, as it houses like 90% of all his gadgets. Each of the pouches or cylinders on Batman's belt contains a massive array of different tools that are crucial to Batman's pursuit of justice, both on the streets of Gotham or even in the Justice League Watchtower fighting an alien invasion. Every single pouch or cylinder on his belt is interchangeable with one another, and of course through the years Batman has modified what he carries in his belt. Batman is constantly changing what he carries in his belt to accommodate different situations or opponents he might be facing. And of course not anyone could just open his utility belt. That just wouldn't be safe nor very Batman-like. Almost every version of the belt has a built-in security feature that stops any random person or villain from opening it. The belt has been shown to electrocute villains who even touch it. It's even been shown to release stun gas to prevent people from messing with it. All you really need to know though is that Batman's belt's compartments are locked and only he knows how to open them, and probably a select few of the Bat family. As I said earlier, Batman has a plethora of different gadgets and tools in his utility belt. Some examples would be flashlights, smoke capsules, fingerprint kit, forensic kit, first aid kit, lock-picking tools, kryptonite ring because you never know when you're gonna have to fight Superman, batarangs, miniature laser, bat-shaped handcuffs, gas mask, and rebreather because you might have to breathe underwater sometimes like in Suicide Squad, trackers, several sedatives, anti-venoms, mini explosives, light grenades, anti-fire foam, and an ultrasonic transmitter to attract bats because, well, Batman. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, friends. Basically, whatever the story needs Batman to have, he can have it in or on his belt. But just like that, my comic conrads, you now know more about one of the most important items that Batman has, his utility belt.